Hi everyone, it's Beverly Burton with Ask a Piano Teacher Who Cares, and I'm definitely one of the piano teachers who do care. Today's interview is just as special as all the others and all the ones that are to come. Today we are interviewing a parent and her child who is currently taking piano lessons with me. Really special moment because not only did she begin during the pandemic and lives in another state, but she actually began with the method books that I have created, starting with the pre-beginners. She moved to book 1, and she's about to graduate in a couple of weeks into book 2. So I'm really excited about her progress. I am really excited about how far we've come, and they're going to just share just a little bit about their journey, and we're here for it. All right, so let us welcome Emmanuela and Gigi, which is what I call her, but Giana Gibson. Hi, Emmanuela. Hi, Gigi. How are you guys?
Hello, Miss Beverly. We're well, thank you. How are you doing?
Really happy to be here with you to share in this conversation. Are you excited, Gigi?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, awesome. So, Emmanuela, I would say this is a season of meeting, but this is really not our season of meeting. We kind of met prior to Gigi's piano lessons.
We met on the beautiful campus of Atlantic Union College and South Lancaster Academy. And, quickly we clicked. I remember you coming in a couple of years after me, and you were just full of vibrancy and talent and grace and very friendly. So, it's funny how small the world is because a few years later I'm married and our families are practically related.
Right.
So
Right.
we married into each other's God families. So I'm so grateful for your friendship and for your talent and your ministry and how it's blessed our family in so many ways.
Oh man, and back at you. Yeah, that was years ago, meeting on that college campus of Atlantic Union College. And I do remember seeing you, and you were always the young lady who was so well put together, so friendly, so open, so encouraging. Like your spirit just, I feel like it let everybody know like you matter. And that's one thing I could definitely say about you. So connecting years later to be able to teach your daughter, it was like an honor for me. I feel like it was my responsibility to make sure that she was good because you always had it in your spirit to make sure that we were good, that everybody else was good, whether it was a smile, whether it was just a greeting, like you just had that way about you where we felt safe and comfortable to be friends. Why did you decide piano lessons for Gigi?
I had always envisioned her playing an instrument, even pre-COVID and pre-pandemic. And I just know how music can enrich a child's mind and their lives, and how they learn and focus and that sort of thing. And I always thought that no matter what instrument she chose, that she would begin with the piano. I played a little bit of the piano when I was growing up. And so I wanted her to hopefully choose the piano for life, but also to have it as a good foundational, fundamental instrument. And I wasn't shy about her starting it early. I think that's a good way to start, and I feel like she's picked it up and she loves it, and it helps that she's taken the classes and the lessons with you. She loves having you as a teacher. Um, Not only do you know the instrument and the music, but you know children and you know how they need to learn, and if we have to adjust, and if there's flexibility that needs to come into play. I feel that you're able to read all of that.
So, Musical Mind, book number 1. How did that help? Because how old was she about when she started piano lessons?
About four.
About 4 years of CC.
About four. She's 6 now. Yeah.
So she started with Musical Mind for pre-beginners. So the pre-beginners book is basically a book of patterns, using
Yes.
familiar patterns like their handprint and different patterns that are in the book to get them to understand the foundation before they even get to the piano. So how did you feel when you heard about that book that really didn't involve the piano, but it was supposed to start kids in piano? How did you feel when you began to work through the book?
So this was a completely new approach for me. Having, I could say old school now. It's a lot of heavy theory, and the piano comes into play. But when I saw this book, I really appreciated the approach because, of course, at the time I wasn't yet set up with a keyboard or a piano. I'm sorting all that out. We're in pandemic kind of craze. But I like that, she was able to become familiar with her hands and the musical alphabet. And the book really allowed her to become comfortable with the instrument before the actual instrument piece even came into play. I love the thoughtfulness and the incorporation of the theory and the music and the hand positioning and how important all of that was. And I just feel like it was, laid out and paced out in a way that she could digest, that she could understand. And she took to it pretty quickly. And I expect, for me, I know she'll do great things, but even with the piano, it was a pleasant surprise. But I think with that tool, with the book, and the way that it was so well thought out, with the mind of a 4+-year-old, it was really helpful in getting her started and getting her to like it right away.
Awesome. And it's crazy because Gigi was actually the first student to use the book itself. Now, that method was created about 10 years ago. I was teaching science, but the principal said to me, "Listen, Miss Burton, I know you do music. Can you take the kindergartners on? So, and the preschoolers. So you're walking into a room with 3, 4, and 5-year-olds."
That's right.
So she's like, "I'll order a bunch of keyboards." But when I really thought about it, I'm like, 4 and 5-year-olds, 3-year-olds, all they're going to want to do is this.
Yeah.
Just hear the sound. And I got out some loose leaf sheets of paper, made them put their hands down, did their handprints, wrote the letters above their fingers, and we started with no sound, just really kind of going through the patterns of playing music.
F and G. Give yourself a hand.
And I realized that when we had done that over a couple of weeks, we went to the auditorium where there was one old rickety piano, and the kids would put their hand on the piano, and I would line up their fingers, and I'm like, "Play C." And they would actually begin to remember, muscle memory, which is my science degree, and they would begin to remember where the notes are. And from then on, that's what I used in the classroom. So when I made the formal book, Gigi was actually the first student to use the book. How did you feel about leading the instruction with that?
With that book, the approach I felt was really very good for her and for her the maturity level that she was at that stage and age. And virtually it was not an issue. It was actually a great option to have. And then and then digesting the lessons. But she was so excited about it and about meeting you. And we had talked about what it may be before she got on so that she would have a sense. I think we met once
a week for 15 weeks. That is true.
And we went into practice. She would pick up the book oftentimes herself. Even when we weren't practicing it, she really right away took to it and developed a love for it.
And Gigi, since you have the book, can you tell us what you liked about the book? What did you like about going through Musical Mind Lesson Book 1?
I liked about it, the pictures look like music notes.
So shout out to my illustrator, Nardin Hanny. She really came through with those pictures that the kids really do enjoy. Did you like the book? Did you enjoy working with it and learning from it? Yes. And can you show us how you put your hand on the handprints? Very nice. Curve your fingers. Very
Mhm.
nice. So can you try the first one for us?
C
Mm-hmm.
D
Mm-hmm.
E
Mm-hmm.
F
Mm-hmm.
G.
Very nice. Can you go to the last line for me?
C
With the fingers.
C D D
Mm-hmm.
E F G.
Right. You know, like, so it's so amazing how, like, just now she's so much more mature, you know, and she gets the concept and everything. But kids at her age, when she started, 3, 4 years old, 15-minute lesson,
Mhm.
practicing muscle memory. You know, they have exercises for the left hand, exercises for the right hand.
And I wanted to mention too with the book how it broke down the lesson. She had to identify the clef sign and choose the correct hand.
Mm-hmm.
And even though she started out with the treble clef right hand, she was getting into practice of putting that left hand on. And then when the book came in with the left hand, she was ready to transition there too.
She transitioned to actually playing on the piano, because it was
Yes,
literally a very smooth transition for her.
it was very smooth. I do like how each page had a bit of a prompt, which was helpful for me too when I would do her practice. So we would come out of your lessons and I would have these prompts to kind of work through. Note.
C D C E metronome.
Yes, that's what it really looks like. This is a digital one. Please have a seat for me. That's your pace. Good. All right. Much better. Very good. That's my girl. All right. You're getting it. Keep going.
Okay.
One more. Good. All right. Just be careful with those other keys. All right. We'll move on. You know, so I would practice with her what the sign meant, what hand that meant, choosing the right hand. And so it really had a flow to it. It really had a nice cadence. It's nice to be able to have representation when you can see yourself in a book, in a lesson book. So we appreciate the representation.
Absolutely. Those are actually real students in the pictures. The representations are real students in the picture. I wanted to make sure that that multicultural effect was in there, you know, not to downplay our culture, but to bring the reality of life, that we are here
Yes,
in a melting pot. And it's a
that's
good thing.
right.
Like, it definitely is a good thing. So did you
Yeah.
have any reservations about Gigi starting piano lessons online? Because obviously through the pandemic, you know, you adjust with the classes, math, all of that. But old school, we're coming from where it was literally in the same room, hands on. How was that adjustment? Did you have reservations?
Yes, it was part of that whole conversation about virtual learning. You know, it was a large conversation in my household about, what was going to be best for her, for our family, what it meant to have a child virtual learning, and the supports that, we had to give her through that virtual learning and even outside of it. So I did have reservations because she was so little and so young, and and just that understanding. Her mind wasn't really wrapping around, not being able. She was, we were going through the emotional ramifications that everybody went through during the pandemic about just not being able to connect with people. But I spoke to her teachers, I spoke to her doctors about, this is how I wanted to approach it, and what their recommendations and suggestions were with that, especially because she was so little. And she had started preschool in person, so she already kind of had a taste about what it meant to have a teacher in person and friends. And so there was a big adjustment that's that particular spring and summer when we started with you. And then with the piano, I just followed your leading. I didn't get the keyboard till a little bit later. I think the book was a really great place to start. We had her at her desk with the book, which is something I wanted, and it was a nice support to have, something to look forward to with her.
Right. Which definitely leads to the next question. What role? We already know what role I play, right? I'm the teacher. I bring the information. I bring the strategies. I assess kids and see how they learn and try to move them in that direction of learning. But what role do you feel that you play in her music education, and how is it different from how you envisioned it, or did you think that you would have such a great role in her education?
It's funny. When I was, first of all, I thought of you right away. I was like, let me call Beverly. Let me find out what she's doing. I know she has a music school. I know it's in New York. I'm glad I made the call. I'm one of those people too. I'm like, the worst answer that I could receive is not the worst. Well, you know what I mean? Like, the worst answer you could get is a no, but not having tried. Excuse me. So I'm glad that I reached out to you, and I'm glad that you were so gracious and willing and open. And I'm glad that it was a partnership. And as far as my role, so our roles together, to me, I see it as a partnership. I see that, she won't be successful without this partnership, with both of us working and doing our part together, and then separately outside of the lessons and the practice. And so I signed up for forgetting that, not even thinking that I would be in piano classes as well.
Listen, girl, in-person classes, I remember the days when parents would just drop their kids and be like, oh, I'm going to run to the mall.
Yeah, right.
But because the kids were with me, it was easy. But now that they're not with me, the parents know that if they leave them, it might not work out that well, because they're literally by themselves on the other end, especially when they're very young, so, I would have loved if parents could stay, sometimes. It doesn't have to be all the time in person with me, but I think that virtually, you're right. It's like
virtually, yeah. No, there's no if and or buts about that. You're part of the lesson. You are in the piano class, and you have to be. And I was ready to whatever you were, whatever I needed to do, I was ready to do. So when people ask, how's piano, I'm like, well, I'm in piano class too.
Right. and as it should be, though, I'm just like, parents should be, even if it wasn't virtual, parents should be a very integral part, especially when the kids are young. It's just like, they're going to remember, because I love teaching independently. I love teaching kids how to be accountable for the information on their own. So it's just like, this is what you need to know, even at a young age, be responsible for this information. But there's nothing like having that coach, nobody trains for a professional event adult, without having a coach coaching them by their side. So I feel like even as kids, we take for granted that they are kids and they're not adults. They're not
adults,
100% responsible. They need that supervision to help them outside of their teacher, so they have their teacher, but then they have their coach. Because I look at you guys as coaches. I look at you guys as my hands, because I'm not there. Sometimes I'm like, Mom, where the 2 black notes are, just show her, and you'll step in line and just make the adjustment to show her. And as you do that, I'm sure you're learning as well.
That's right. And and it's an awesome, it's really an awesome place to be, because to be part of this process and part of the learning. And I remember those days where I did get dropped off at my piano school, and I took my lesson, and then my parent picked me up, and then and then there was practice. But this is it's nice to have kind of this, like I said, this partnership, and being able to understand the lesson with her, and then help. It really does help with the practices after that.
Absolutely.
I appreciate the patience that you have with me as well as a parent, to be able to understand the lesson and convey it to her in those practices. And she understands it. Sometimes she'll remind me. She'll say, "No, Mama, remember this part." Most
They'll
times,
put
really,
it.
she's got it. But I appreciate the partnership and the relationship that helps with the lesson and the practice and ultimately the success um, of her music playing.
So I want to share a clip of you guys practicing together. And I think you mentioned the word relationship. So I think it's so appropriate in this moment to just share a clip of you guys practicing together and to see the relationship that happens, within that time. So we're going to just take a look at the clip right now and we'll be right back.
Yeah, without stopping. Here, hold on. Let me pause. Let me go get my rice off the stove. 1 second. Okay, and we're back. ECED.
Now that we've looked at that clip, it's just so obvious how everything just seems to just flow with you guys. Like even when you paused it to go and check on your pot, like,
Yeah.
you're like, we'll be right back. Like, so it's like you don't miss a beat. Like you don't let anything stop you to say, well, I can't do it now because I'm gonna have to cook. You're just like, we're gonna start. When I need to check in, I'll just press pause and then come
Yes.
back to it. And that's so amazing
That's
to just
right.
watch
Mommy just
that
got to
grow.
grab her rice and beans off the stove for a second. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, right. Because a lot of people a lot of parents get intimidated by the fact that, like they don't have time to just put in 30 minutes and block that out. And I love that because it can support my encouragement to parents to say, hey, listen, when you are practicing with your child daily, every day is going to look different. It's
Yes.
never going to look the same. When we want to accomplish something, it's going to be a matter of flexibility. How do we, just kind of move through what's going on, but make sure that we have accomplished our goal? And the goal is consistent practice. Now, it might not be 30 minutes every day. Sometimes might be 5 minutes. Sometimes
That's
might be
right.
just coming to the piano to play the song a couple of times. But whatever it looks like, it's beautiful because
It is.
when it is all tallied up, it's going to equal something. So if we say, well, I didn't have the time, that equals 0 at the end of the week. But if you
Right.
say, I put in 5 minutes a day and we got 20 minutes the next day, and she was just able to play through the song one time before bedtime. That's all we
Mhm.
had. And, then the next day we had 10 minutes. And then the next day we had 5 minutes. That equals about 30 minutes and one song played, which is more than
Not the
0.
weekend. That's
So
right.
I just love that clip. I feel like it spoke for itself. Like we don't even have to go deep into it because you brought the reality of what real life and practice looks like.
Yeah. And
And
making that time and making
and
that time. And and I appreciate you in that moment too, because I was having the biggest challenge I had at the beginning, especially when we introduced the keyboard, is making time. And I was thinking, okay, there's Sundays, there might be like a Tuesday afternoon, but then your suggestions around playing it at dinner, or before dinner, or during, or after dinner, and then as I started to see these clearings in my schedule, we can get busy and caught up with school and work, and then there's that 5 to 7 craze that happens where you're just trying to get dinner and bedtime going. But there are moments. There are
there
definite
are moments.
there are definite pockets, and like you said, sometimes and I gauge her, and that's something that you reminded me at the beginning too, to gauge her. Sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's 15, other times she's on there and I say, oh, you're still practicing, and 30 minutes have passed. But even if I'm not sitting right there with her, I'm there with her, and I can hear the note now too and say, okay, did that sound right to you?
I
Things
love
like
it.
that. But she's enjoying, and she's learning those pockets too of time, and she's getting onto the keyboard or without much prompt from me, and then we go into a practice in that way, sometimes impromptu.
Right. Right.
Hmm.
I love it. So it's a thing to learn, like for ourselves as well, because I had to learn that lesson for myself and how to accomplish what I need to. Like it says, whatever your hands find to do, do it with all your might. And it's like, well, how do I do it with all my might if I don't know how to organize my time? So I think that part of this season is just sharing with kids that this is something that is not required, but how do I make it important enough to move through it so that I can accomplish what's required, my schooling, because I don't want to fail, I don't want to get in trouble, but then also have the space to incorporate things that I enjoy and things that are important that is not required. And I think that them learning that lesson at this age is so important, because life has the same lesson. It's just like, what if mommy said, well, I went to work and that was required, but I don't feel like feeding you tonight. Like sometimes when the kids are like, Miss Burton, I didn't practice. I'm like, did you eat? Yes. Did you watch TV? Yes. Did you play with your friends? Yes. Did you, so it's just like, then there's a moment where we can actually get to the piano. It doesn't have to be a long moment, but we can find it. So I'm really excited. I want to ask Gigi a few questions because she's been so great. And I also want you to play something. Would you be willing to play something for us today, Gigi?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So Gigi, what grade are you in?
Kindergarten.
You're in kindergarten. That's awesome. And have you been enjoying piano lessons since we started?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. All right. And so what are some of your favorite things that you enjoy about lessons?
The lesson time with Miss Beverly.
Playing my favorite song.
Okay. And what is your favorite song?
This one.
Let me see.
Do you remember what it's called?
Oh, and the Saints.
Oh, When the Saints. I like that song too. She wants to show us. Oh, When the Saints Go Marching In. Awesome. So would you like to share it with us in this moment? I think that would be pretty cool. All right, so we're going to listen, and Gigi is going to perform Oh, When the Saints Go Marching In. That was phenomenal. That's right, girl. You better curtsy. I love it. You know what I'm saying? I love it. So, Gigi, I am so proud of you. The journey has been a great one for us. You've learned so much. You're moving from book 1 in a couple of weeks to book 2. And you're just going to continue to keep growing. I see it. And you have so many big things in store for you. Do you know what you want to be?
I'm so sorry.
A mama and a doctor.
A mama and a doctor. Wow. And she caught me off guard with that one. But I love it, girl. Okay. A mama and a doctor. Listen, that's a great aspiration. And I know that you're going to be that. And maybe, would you put your children in piano lessons?
Mm-hmm.
And who would be their piano teacher?
You.
That's right.
If I got strength by the time you have kids, I would be so honored to teach your kids piano lessons. That would be great. And do you know what kind of doctor you want to be?
A doctor for kids.
A doctor for kids. Listen, I'm gonna send my grandkids to you, girl, so you could be their doctor. Because I think that if I had kids, they'd probably be too old to come to her. So my grandkids, that's what we're aiming for. But that is so beautiful. I just can't wait to share this interview with the world, Gigi, because they need to know that there are children like you who are so bright, have such a bright future, and have been doing well and putting in the time into their piano lessons. Thank you, Emmanuela, for sharing your journey, your experience with me and with us, with our BBSM family. Because that's what we really have become, just a place where we can just share our good times, our not so great times, learn from one another, and just get our kids to become not only better, but to become skilled in the area of progress. You know, like how do we progress? How do we progress? How do we practice? How do we get them to practice? And how do we swing those lessons over into them being lifetime students of the School of Hard Knocks? Because they're sending the lessons, but we want our kids to be prepared to jump over every hurdle with ease and with courage and with dignity, you know, because they know how to. And this was a place, you know, to begin to learn those lessons. So thank you guys again for being a part of today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your school, for your gift, for your talents, like we said, for your ministry. And we know it's been a blessing to Giana and to our family. And it's just helping her to grow and build confidence and be successful.
Absolutely. You guys are welcome. See you guys in class. So here you have it. We had another amazing interview today. Emmanuela and Giana, they are such a great team, and I definitely appreciate working with them. Look forward to their progress over the years, and just to see Giana grow and blossom. I'm just glad to be a part of that community that is raising Giana. So this is Ask a Piano Teacher Who Cares, and I'm Beverly Burton, definitely one of the piano teachers who do care, and we'll see you soon.